$7.2 million generated for my client portfolio. Our biggest account was an offer doing 1.3 million euros per month. 1.2 million views garnered within my first 60 days of posting on Instagram. $20,000 generated, cash collected within the first month of my own info product. One of my mentees got their first viral videos. They were averaging 200 views. Another one got their first info sale. Another one went from 300 followers to 10,000 followers in the span of like two and a half months. Another one got their first info sale. Another one got their first info sale. This is the common sentiment of people that I teach what I'm about to teach you. And the thing is, all of these people gave me money for this information that I'm about to give you for free. If you cannot sit down and listen for however long this video is about to be, unfortunately, you are going to be poor for the rest of your life. What I'm going to be going through this video is exactly how you can make a fuck ton of money from your info product, regardless of if you're just about to start on social media or if you already have a social media following and you're trying to capitalize. I'm going to teach you the marketing principles that you need to understand before you ever think about making a before you ever think about making any piece of social media content. I'm going to show you exactly how to study content in a manner that allows you to take people's win pieces of content, implement your own information in it, and have it work for you. I'm going to show you exactly how to automate this entire process so you're not spending 60 hours per week on content. I've done this. It's ass. Don't do that. Just listen to what I'm about to tell you. I'm going to teach you how to connect all those pieces of content together in an ecosystem that's going to take the attention that you start generating and put it into fucking money in your pocket. I'm going to teach you the funnel that's going to work for you. This is the part that everybody likes to fucking skip to. They just worry about the funnel. Funnel this, funnel that. What they don't understand is everything else. Because in order to really make money in info, what you need to understand that it's not one funnel working. It is multiple funnels working together. You need to have a content funnel and you need to have a conversion funnel. And once you get these two dialed in and working together, that's when you start making a fuck ton of money. And the process of building out a content funnel and building out a conversion funnel is what I like to call info engineering, because there are a multitude of tiny mechanics that play an effect to where if you change one thing in one funnel, another thing in another funnel has to change. For example, if you are a fitness coach, it makes no sense for you to run a VSL book a call funnel unless you are at crazy mass scale. Let's say, for example, you're a fitness coach with about 30 to 50,000 followers on Instagram, a VSL book a call funnel. And if you try to do like those story posts, you've all seen it in info, you're going to fucking crash. And I know this for a fact because I've done that. That's one of my offers that I failed to deliver on because I didn't understand the tiny mistakes. So please sit down, watch this video, listen to everything I tell you, and listen to the warnings I give you so you don't make the same fucking mistakes I made while growing this entire ecosystem. We're going to start off with the marketing principles that you need to understand first. And it comes down to two things: audience awareness level and market sophistication. You've probably heard, if you're anywhere around the info space or anywhere around the marketing space, you've heard of top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. This is the buzzword that everybody likes to fucking use. But it gets more nuanced than that because, like I said, those are just fucking buzzwords. Today, I'm about to teach you exactly what these means and how, the mechanics you need to change in order to effectively capture an audience at that level. I'm sipping on some fucking European bubbly water. I'm fancy now. You're lucky I don't have, what's the trend going on? Uh, Black people are trading Nike Techs for the quarter zips. You lucky I don't have my fucking quarter zip on. That's the next step, right? Once I hit a fucking 100K a month, I'm going to quarter zip. I'm gonna be a quarter zip nigga. Now you're not gonna see me in none of this shit, right? But for now, I'm at bubbly water level. But starting off at an unaware market, you have to understand that this is the broadest audience. They have no identified problem in regards to your solution. As I go through here, what you're going to start to understand is that all of this is forcing your audience, forcing whoever you're targeting to start asking themselves questions in relation to your offer or whatever product you're trying to push. Because if somebody is not asking questions about you in their mind, you have no chance to sell them. Because if they are not asking questions, they are a closed door. So when you're targeting an unaware market, the purpose is to open that door so you can start feeding them all the rest of your marketing stuff. And you do this with curiosity. The goal when advertising to this audience is leveraging curiosity to get them asking questions that eventually makes them realize that they have a problem. We're going to skip traditional marketing examples. Excuse me, I told you, I'm burping now because I'm drinking that bubbly water, right? We're gonna skip traditional marketing examples because I know you're not as fucking nerdy and dorky as me. You don't wanna get into the fucking nuance. You just wanna know exactly how you can use it in info, which is fine. That's exactly what I'm gonna fucking show you because I have info examples as well. If you look here, info marketing, I bought my dream car at 23. I bought a $400,000 GT3 RS at 20. Posts like this make your audience ask themselves, how is this kid able to afford this lifestyle? Which leads them to them realizing that they need to lock in because they are poor in comparison, which leads to them start asking them a question on how they can make more money, which becomes their core problem. They don't know how to make enough money to afford this lifestyle. So this opens the door of communication. But now that the door of communication is open and they are aware that they don't know how to make money to afford this lifestyle, now we can feed more marketing into them. We move on to problem aware. Audience is not aware of the problem but don't have a solution. The goal in advertising is to agitate the problem and point them to a solution. Problem agitation is so fucking important. And I'll tell you why. Because this is not like a marketing gimmick. It just goes down to fucking human psychology on how we evolved. There's a reason why we developed pain receptors. Because if we do not feel pain, we will not be incentivized to actually do anything about any situation that we're in. Let me give you an example, right? Let's say you had a chunk missing out of your fucking back, like right here, where you can't fucking, you can't see it. It's never going to really affect you, right? Except that it's a fucking chunk missing out of your fucking back, right? If you did not feel pain, you will never fucking fix it. So now you just have an open hole, and now a whole bunch of fucking bacteria can enter your fucking body and kill you because you weren't aware that that piece of your fucking, your back is missing. Now, because we have pain receptors, if a chunk out of our back goes missing, it's gonna be fucking painful. And we're gonna be very aware that there's something fucking wrong. And we're gonna be more incentivized to fix it. We're gonna go to the fucking hospital and get us patched up so bacteria doesn't fucking invade our body and kill us, right? It works the same way. You have to make the customer very aware of their fucking problem. And you do that by agitating it. And I wanted to take a break here and really dive in this point because this is a big mistake that I see a lot of people do. I just had to get on one of my setters' ass because they do not fucking effectively induce pain within the audience, within the people that they're talking to. Pain is your fucking friend, right? If you do not know how to cause pain, if you do not know how to make your prospect feel pain, from every single fucking level of your marketing, whether it's through the content, whether it's through the fucking ads, whether it's through the fucking sales, whether it's through the fucking calls. If you do not know how to make people feel pain, you're just going to be poor for the rest of your life. And it's so important that I had to fucking take a break and make you very aware. You need to get good at making people feel pain. Because once you can make people feel pain, you can point them to a solution. Stuff like this, right? Content like this, explaining a business model that makes me 100K per month at 19, closing 80K of SMMA clients in 72 hours. Posts like this answer the question of how can I make money to afford this lifestyle by exposing the business model that's allowing the creator to have said lifestyle. But that brings up the follow-up question, how can I capitalize on this lifestyle at the same level this creator does? Now, I know what you're fucking asking. Well, Lionel, you just said induce pain. How is this content positioned to induce pain? Notice how they're focusing on either the distinction of how much money they're making versus their age, or the distinction of how much money they're making versus their time. That's the pain mechanism. Because in the prospect's head, right, if you're anything older than 19, you're gonna be like, what the fuck? This 19-year-old is making 100 grand a month, and I'm this fucking 23-year-old, and I'm only making 60 grand a year. That's very painful. Let's look at this, right? Closing 80K of SMMA clients in 72 hours. Again, the pain mechanic is the time. Because if you're fucking watching this, let's say you get paid a measly fucking 2 grand per week. You're making $8,000 a month. You read this shit and you're like, what the fuck? He made 80 grand in 72 hours. And I made a measly 2 grand in a week. That's the pain mechanic. And once the pain is open, you're pointing them towards the direction of whatever business model or offer or coaching program or whatever the fuck you want to point them to. But pain is so important. I will stress this so many times. Once you're done with problem aware, they become solution aware. At this point in the pyramid, the audience is aware of their problem and your solution, but they start to actively look at all solutions to that problem. To stay in the theme of online biz op, right? Blah, blah, blah. I could go off the top of my fucking head, right? So this is the person that knows that they're fucking poor. And maybe they got exposed to the fact that they're poor by Brez Scales, because he sells fucking freelance brand scaling. By the way, if you didn't know this, right? And this is, and I fucking love the info space because you can see, when you understand this, you can understand the other things that people are using, right? So freelance brand scaling, by the way, has been around for fucking years. All Brez did was take something that was already in existence, which is media buying. That's been around forever. It's not a new thing. And add his own fucking twist. That's why he blew up. And you'll see that when we get into levels of market sophistication, because Brez understood that he was in a sophisticated market. So what he did is that he fucking introduced a new mechanism, which restarted the levels of the stages of market sophistication. But we'll get there here in a second. But I like going on tangents because this shit is so fucking beautiful. Like, I love this shit. But where the fuck was I at? Solution aware. All right. So this is the person that knows that they're fucking poor, and Brez exposes them to freelance brand scaling. But the person that's solution aware, right, they're going to start looking at SMMA as well. They're going to start looking at e-com as well. They're going to start looking at crypto as well. They're going to start looking at fucking day trading as well, right? This is the person that's jumping around from business model to business model. They're problem aware, and they are in the solution aware stage, right? How do you solve that? You give them beginner level fucking tutorials, right? That's how you fucking solve that. Beginner level tutorials are what targets this level of awareness. The goal of these tutorials is to frame the creator solution as the easiest one to get into, simplest to actually run, and the highest probability to succeed. Secondary and tertiary goals are to reduce risk and build trust. This is also where you start seeing stronger CTAs. So you want the prospect to start perceiving your option as the best possible option available for solving their specific problem. And once you successfully do that, you're not fucking done, because now they are product aware. And product aware people, at this point, The person believes in freelance brand scaling or media buying, which is what it really fucking is, right? They believe in freelance brand scaling, but they're not just gonna look at bread scales, right? They're gonna look at, I don't even know who the other fucking freelance brand scaler mentors are, because Brett's just, and this just goes back to him, to market sophistication, right? Brez did a fucking amazing play there. But they'll start looking at all the mentors for freelance brand scaling, right? And that's when the goal is to show your audience why your specific brand / product is the irrefutable best, which Brez does a fucking amazing job of that. And the way you do that is with just, what's it called? Trust assets. So testimonials, proof assets, blah, blah, blah. Implementation of trust assets to scale trust, blah, 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 right? Because you gotta have, you want people to start believing in you, right? And once you do that, they are most aware. And at this point, the buyer is sold on your product and is looking for the opportunity to give you money. And that's when you can have super strong CTAs, right? You need to understand all of this, because if you don't, you're gonna just do fucking stupid shit, because you're not gonna know how to funnel people down through fucking marketing. But that's not it, because now we have to get into market sophistication. So market sophistication just basically explains different mechanics that you need to introduce as a market gets more sophisticated, right? I think I have a little aside right here. You realize that as your market goes down sophistication levels, skepticism increases due to different claims made by the companies within that market. That's why at each stage you need to introduce new mechanisms that allow you to fight their growing skepticism, right? And I'll go stage by stage and show you the mechanism you need to introduce, right? So stage one, market is new and you have little to no competition. This means that you have first to market advantage, and all that's needed for here is for you to make people aware of your existence. Message basically just needs to be, I exist, this is what I do, right? If you have first mover advantage, not gonna lie, you're basically goated. It's gonna be very hard for people to beat you. Stage two, a small amount of competition has entered the marketplace. Messaging needs to switch from I exist, this is what I do, to I exist, this is what I do, and these features make me different from my competition. Focus shift from the existence of your product / service to the specific features of your product / service that make you different from your competition. Because you gotta remember, at this stage, competition has now entered the door. I need another fucking bubbly break. Stage three, market is even more saturated and the messaging needs to change again. Messaging needs to go from I exist, this is what I do, and these are the features that make me different from my competition, to I exist, this is what I do, these features make me different from my competition, and these specific processes are what allows me to get you better results. You switch from focusing on the features to focusing on how you'll get them XYZ results, aka the process. Stage four. And remember, as we go down these stages, all right, you just get it's just more and more competition has entered the marketplace, and there's more and more confusion from the customer side, skepticism from the customer side onto who to fucking pick. And these are what you need to do in order to change it, to get people to buy into you. Stage four, at this point, market is hyper saturated. Skepticism runs high because they've heard every offer from every competitor. So you need to introduce a risk reversal. Messaging needs to switch from I exist, this is what I do, these features make me different from my competition, these specific processes are what allows me to get you better results, to I exist, this is what I do, these features make me different from my competition, I have these specific processes that allow me to get you better results, and if you don't get these results, I'll give you XYZ risk reversals. And then lastly, stage five. At this point, the market is at max skepticism, and there are only two ways to survive. Brand, this includes brand identity, authority, positioning, etc. I heard Alex Hormozi say this best. Direct response marketers get rich, not wealthy, because direct response marketers don't put an emphasis on fucking brand. Look at Nike. Are they running direct response campaigns? Fuck no. Look at all the big brands. None of them really run direct response campaigns because they are all focused on building their brand. And it's because they are competing at this stage of market sophistication, stage 5. So it's by brand. Or number 2, which is what Brez did, completely reinventing the product / service which will then birth a new market, starting the cycle over. And I love Brez Scales as a fucking example. Like I said before, freelance brand scaling has been around forever. It's not something new. It's just fucking media buying. Specifically for clothing. That's all it is. But because Brad, or maybe his marketer, right? I know his operator is Pierre. I don't know who fucking thought of this shit, right? But he took media buying and added a unique angle to it. Oh no, this isn't media buying. No. Right? I only focus on what's it called? On holy shit, I'm spazzing. I need my bubbly. I need a bubbly brain. That's the importance. If you're trying to get rich and you're still drinking regular fucking water, you're gonna be broke for the rest of your life. Bubbly water gives you fucking optimized brain waves. Holy shit. This isn't media buying. I'm focusing on clothing brands, right? This is something completely different. It's freelance brand scaling. Guess what that does? That restarts market sophistication. And now he gets to be the first mover. That's why he's so much bigger than all the other fucking freelance brand scaling mentors, blah, 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 blah. But he's essentially doing the same thing that's been around forever. That's why you need to understand this. Before you ever fucking make a piece of fucking bullshit content and then you start fucking bitching about why your shit's not working, right? I fucking hate that shit, gets on my nerves, right? But here's the super deep nuance that a lot of people miss. Whoa, where did I go? Where did we go? Okay. Each level of awareness has its own inner sophistication. So unaware, problem aware, so all these levels, right? They have levels of sophistication within it. I'll give you an example, right? Excuse me. Let's say you're a fucking fitness coach. And I like to use fitness because everybody understands fitness. We don't have to fucking break down something super complex here, right? It's fucking fitness, right? Let's say you're a fitness coach and you're in the fitness niche, right? Well, I don't know what other niche a fucking fitness coach would be, but let's say you're a fucking fitness coach and your main lead source is Instagram. So you fucking do a lot of Instagram, right? And you get a fucking video to pop off because in the hook, and this is where content purposing, content structuring goes in. Because if you look at your fucking data, right, you'll understand that every piece of fucking content is just a funnel. The hook is where you attract the unaware, right? The body is the middle of the funnel, and the CTA at the end is just the bottom of the funnel. But I won't even get into that just yet, right? But your hook, right, which is supposed to grab the most attention, right? Let's say you find a winning hook, and it's by starting your video by doing a fucking handstand, right? Get a fucking million views, whoop-de-doo, right? What's gonna happen is that your competitors are gonna see that doing a handstand gets you a lot of views, and they're gonna start doing a handstand, right? Which is going to make that hook variation less and less effective because more and more people are doing it, to where it becomes that doing fucking handstands is just what every other fucking fitness coach does, right? But now you can go in here, and because you understand market sophistication and you understand that each level of the awareness pyramid has its own sophistication within it, you can go in here and be like, okay, everybody's fucking doing a handstand. I'm gonna do a backflip into a handstand. And now you restart the fucking levels. This is exactly what I did to generate 1.2 million views for myself within my first 60 days because I just fucking understood that shit. Because we all know all the fucking people in the info space do the same boring ass fucking Miro boards. They do. So I took my time to understand why these Miro boards work. And I was like, okay, cool. I understand that works. Let me reverse engineer a new mechanism in the space. And that's how I got this shit. I completely swiped this format from a niche outside of myself, outside the info space. It got me so many fucking views, right? And more importantly, it got me so many fucking leads, so to speak, right? And that's the first level of understanding, right? I'm gonna take a break to make sure that my camera is still recording, and I need my bubbly break. Daddy's back. Now that you understand the marketing mechanics behind, now that you understand these marketing mechanics, hold up, let me drink my fucking bubbly. Excuse me. You need to understand how to break down pieces of content, right? Getting into YouTube would be too fucking long. So right now, we're just gonna focus on short form pieces of content. And before I get into this, I need to teach you why it's broken down like this, right? This is something my father taught me a very long time ago. My dad is a fucking engineer, super smart guy. And he taught me a very long time ago that most people look at the end result instead of looking at the tiny components that are being put together to produce that result, right? I'll give you two examples, one in math, one in real life, right? 2 + 2 = 4, basic equation. Most people focus on 4. My dad taught me to focus on 2 + 2 because that's what's being put together in order to produce 4. Same thing with something like a pen. Most people see a pen in its entirety. What I see is the springs that are inside this pen that allow me to do this, the ink, the metal, this little thingy right here, this little rubber piece, right? The little like screws right here that let me to twist it in and out, right? This little, whatever the fuck this is, right? I pay attention to the tiny mechanics being put together to produce a result. And content is the same way, right? Instead of looking at a viral video, right, and being like, oh, this is a viral video, got 2 million views, blah, blah, blah. Sit there and try to fucking understand the mechanics that are being put together in order to produce that viral video. That's the difference. Well, you don't have to sit there because I already fucking did it for you. These are the mechanics, right? So just fucking listen. Number 1, outlier score. So a multiple of the average views from a post using the same format at the same time. I have to explain this, what I mean. Format, right? In content, there are formats, which are ways videos are structured, right? So let's just say in the educational niche, right? You can have a very basic talking head. Then you can have a talking head and Miro board. Then you can have a talking head and a whiteboard. Then you can have a talking head with some special fucking editing, right? These are all different formats of the same niche. The common fucking social media advice right now is to go out to your competitors and look at their top winning pieces of content, all of them combined, right? Pick out the ones that are performing the best and then study that. And that is only a fucking half truth. And I will explain to you why. It's because the top pieces of content are going to be of different formats. And it makes no fucking sense to compare one format to a video in a completely different format. It's fucking retarded. Let me explain it like this, right? Let's say you go to a fucking, barn, right? Barns have multiple types of fucking animals, right? And you look at a fucking horse and then you look at a fucking donkey. And you're trying to pick out the best horse and you're trying to pick out the best fucking animals, right? Essentially, that advice is asking you to compare a horse to a fucking donkey. It makes no fucking sense. You compare horses to fucking horses. And you compare donkeys to fucking donkeys. Because if you take the data from a horse and a donkey and you study it and you try to construct your content off of this mixed bag of fucking data, You get this fucking horrible chimera, an amalgamation, an abomination of fucking human nature or of nature. Because you just combine a fucking horse and a donkey. And I chose those specific animals so you can have the image of a horse fucking a donkey right now in your head. So you can see how retarded that fucking device is. It's literally fucking stupid. You compare horses to horses and donkeys to donkeys. You compare formats to formats. Right? So let's look at my own page. Yeah, let's look at my fucking own page. Right? This is a good fucking lineup. Right? We have one format over here. We have another format over here. We have another format over here. We have another format over here. Let's say all four of these had 3 million fucking views each, right? What fucking sense does it make sense to compare a format like this to a format like that? It's fucking retarded, stupid. Don't fucking do that. You compare a format like this to itself, another format like that, right? And you compare a format like this to its own individual fucking format. Because that's gonna have rich data. And I'll give you a second reason why that's so fucking important. Let's say you have a format that averages 10,000 views, and then one of those videos gets 100,000 views. That is a 10x multiplier, right? Now, let's say you have another format that averages 100,000 views and one of the videos gets 300,000 views. That is a 3x multiplier, right? Which one do you fucking study? A lot of you fucking retarded people are going to say you study the one that has 300,000 views. Want to know why? Because you're listening to all these fucking people that's telling you to compare, to just look at the most popular videos, right? But if you really fucking think about it, that's stupid. Because this is only performing 3 times better than its average. While this video, yes, it has less views, it's performing 10 times better than its average. So which one is going to tell you more of what succeeds? The one that's only performing 3 times better or the one that's performing 10 times better? This is why you need to understand this format section. And again, I like going on these tangents because there are points that I need to fucking drive in. At the same time, this is a tinier mechanic, right? At the same time, it's just because creators fluctuate, right? Creators can go up and down in popularity. It makes no sense to compare a video from today to a video from fucking 2 years ago. It makes no fucking sense, right? If you compare a video, if you're looking at videos from 2 years ago, compare it to videos within that same time range. If you're looking at videos from today, compare it with the most recent videos, right? Because it's gonna have the most freshest data, right? That's the first thing, right? Awareness level. What awareness level is targeting. That's why I started with an understanding of awareness level. What video format, right? Value/topic, hooks, right? So text hook, visual hooks, verbal hooks, right? Keywords and phrases. So keywords and phrases is not for fucking SEO or some dumbass shit like that. Keywords and phrases are words that have emotional value within the fucking viewer. Words that induce an emotional response within the fucking viewer. Right? Then key visuals, same thing. Visuals that induce an emotional response. Key sounds, sounds that induce an emotional response. Purple cow is super important. The best example of a purple cow is Nick Setting and Talking Head and Mario Board videos. So Nick Setting, well, everybody in the fucking info space does this boring ass fucking Talking Head and Mario Boards, right? Now, when you study enough videos in the same format over and over and over again, they're gonna have similar cadences. You're gonna be very familiar because nobody fucking thinks, right? Until you run into one that's in the same format, but there's just that little twang about it, right? It's a little bit spicy, something a little bit different. Like Nick Setting, he does Talking Head and Mario Boards. But if you look at his fucking Mario boards, they are these complex data structures, super complex. That's the purple cow element, right? So a purple cow, you will rarely find those because again, most people don't fucking think. But a purple cow element is a video that's following the same cadence of its format, but there's something special about it that makes it stand out, that makes the viewer turn around and like, what the fuck, right? And then what you do is you get super fucking autistic and you just analyze the fuck out of this, right? So Luca Torres, right? I'll show you his video. Well, I'll show you the breakdown. So awareness level piece of content, targeting unaware, because audiences know what selling info is. This reveals selling info is the reason why these creators are making so much money. Format, talking head with Mario, hook, blah, 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 blah. Keywords, highlighting the keywords, right, in a fucking heat map. Key visuals, key sounds, purple cow, no purple cow, right? Now, we click on this video. Let's watch it together.
Tate made his money off of models. Godsey made his money off of SMMA. And Luke Belmar made his money from dropshipping. But what actually made them millionaires is shocking. And exactly what they did is they learned a high-income skill, and then they sold their expertise. Now, these guys ran these businesses like they were multi-7, 8-figure businesses, and they eventually did. Just like Andrew Tate with Hustlers University, and Iman Godsey with Agency Navigator, and Luke Belmar with this Capital Club. In return to making millions, hundreds of thousands of people followed them. And while they followed them, they even made money. So if you want to learn more exactly about how Luke Belmar and Tate and all these gurus secretly make their money through this one business model, I'm going to be dropping a full breakdown on my YouTube channel. Go ahead and follow at Luca P. Torres if you want some more.
Now let's look at my video, one of my videos that did exceptionally well. Let's scroll down. Let's see if you see a fucking resemblance.
Money from models, TJR from trading, and
No. Let's start to.
very effective fucking way. Tate made his money from models, TJR from trading, and Perez from freelance brand scaling. At least that's what they want you to think. What actually made them their millions was exploiting the secret loophole in our system. And it's actually pretty simple. You'll learn a high-income skill, build an audience, then sell that skill to your audience. But simple doesn't equal easy, because you'll need to learn some technical skills before you start printing. The first one being EM setting. So here's my 6-step framework to help you print first.
Do you see how that works? You understand why something works by getting super autistic. And then you straight swipe their shit. That shit's mine now. That's a fucking game of content. You understand this, right? So you know what to look at. You understand how to deconstruct content. Then you do some autistic studying. And then you just fucking straight swipe somebody's shit, right? And then you're gonna get your own successful piece of content. But how do you put all these successful pieces of content together so the attention that you're getting isn't just noise, it is actually purposeful? That's what I'm about to get into next. But I need another break to fill up my fucking bubbly. Remember, I cannot think without my fucking bubbly. And I need to make sure my camera is still recording. Okay, now that you understand the marketing principles, hold up, let me take a sip. And you know how to basically break apart pieces of content. You need to understand how to structure your content so that your attention is not just noise, right? And it breaks down into 3 layers: attraction assets, sales assets, and conversion assets. And if you kind of remember this part, top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. These are the things you need to understand. This is why I structured it this way, because it would make no sense for me to go into here when you didn't understand this first, right? Let's start from the inside out. And this is specifically for YouTube, right? And over here is a drone company, right? There's a reason why I chose this drone company. Full transparency, I have not worked with this drone company. They just do a very good job of what I'm about to teach you. And they have 2 things special about it. Number 1, they are in a very weird niche, right? They sell cleaning drones to business owners. That's a very niche, right? And 2, They are not super big. And I love to use this because I don't want to give you the ability to use the excuse that you don't get enough views as why you can't make a fuck ton of money. Right? So starting off over here, we have the founder's story. This is a super long form piece of content, right? The founder's story is just, let me explain this differently. At the center, you have your main selling content, your main selling piece of content, right? Which is typically a YouTube VSL. For this specific drone company, it is framed as a founder's story, right? It gets the audience to buy into the founder, right? And it goes through his journey on how he started his company. I'll show you how this is being used in info. If we look at somebody like Max Inhouse, guess where his YouTube VSL is? It's this 4-hour piece of content, 5-hour piece of content right here, right? It does the selling for him. If we look at Dustin Verano, I had him pre-typed because I don't want to waste time here. Dustin Verano, another guy in the info space, right? Guess what his YouTube VSL is? It's right here. A super long form piece of content that basically just gives away a ton of free fucking value, right? So you need to have that at the base of your content funnel. Now, on the outer rim, we have your middle funnel. These are things that are going to nurture your audience, right? This can be stuff like, for this drone company, for this example in a drone company, right? They have it as sales assets, which is, I actually recommend you do that. You can see how is AI supercharging robotics at Lucid. How Lavobot 2 can 5x ROI, blah, 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 blah. Improving your margins. It's just sales assets, essentially, right? That's helping the viewer overcome potential objections, cleaning drone misconceptions, right? Now, remember, back over here. Guess what section we're at? We are at middle of funnel. Guess what mechanics you need to introduce at this stage over here. And then when we go all the way outside, this is top of funnel, right? Remember, top of funnel is we're trying to open the door of curiosity. So these are positioned as the broadest thing ever, right? In this specific example, top of funnel, cleaning church with the Sherpa drone. That's what they sell. By the way, they sell the Sherpa drone for like 50 grand a pop, right? This is not like a cheap thing, right? 700 views, right? 632 views, right? And you can see as we start to go in and in, right? The views drop in middle of funnel, right? Which it always does. But typically on the VSLs, on YouTube VSLs, right? The VSL has the most amount of views, or a lot of views, more than the the middle of funnel. Let's look at Max Inhouse again. Max Inhouse. You can kind of see. See, I'm a nerd. I just study these people over and over again. You can see 4,000 views, right? And then his middle of funnel stuff is averaging like 500 to 1,000. You see what I mean? So that's essentially everything you need to understand about the content funnel. But now I'm going to show you how to automate everything. So you don't have to spend fucking 60 hours a week on content because it's going to defeat the purpose, right? What you do is you get Poppy AI. Poppy AI is the best AI platform or bot for making content easy, right? Of course, everything you can do on Poppy AI, you can do on ChatGPT. It's free version, in fact, right? But the problem is you're going to have to learn prompt engineering. Remember, I'm not trying to put in all that fucking extra work. The purpose of me doing this is so I don't have to put in all that extra work. So this just makes everything a lot easier, right? So essentially what you do, remember what I said about formats. Formats to formats, horses to horses, donkeys to donkeys, right? And I have to give that warning because I don't want you to so essentially what you do is you have a section for your content. You have a section for competitor content or whatever format that you're using that's already working in the ecosystem. You have a section with your business information. You have a section for your voice guidelines, because this is the awesome thing about Poppy, right? Or this is the horrible thing about AI in general for content, is that it makes it sound super fucking robotic. But with Poppy, what you can do is let's say I unconnect this, right? Oh my gosh, it's annoying. So I disconnect this. Oh my gosh, where's the thread line? Give me 1 second. You want to know why this is happening? It's because I haven't drank bubbly. See, as soon as I drink bubbly, it works. I'm telling you, if you want to be a rich man, stop drinking regular water and start drinking some bubbly, right? So I can essentially go in here, connect this up. Every time something messes up, it's because I'm not drinking enough bubbly. All the problems in my life would be solved if I just drank a whole bunch of bubbly, right? So you just connect this over here and you just ask it. Simple, right? Let me exit that because I don't like to fucking type. I just like to talk. Looking at this piece of content, how do I talk? If you don't know what I'm speaking into, because I don't think it shows in camera, I have my mic right here. Okay, it just told me how I talk, right? I'm creating an AI bot with the purpose of helping me ideate and script content. The problem with AI bots within content is that they sound robotic, right? Looking at this content and what you just told me about how I talk, I want you to create a voice guideline so the AI bot knows how to replicate my talking patterns. Bada bing, bada boom. So then it gives you voice guidelines. All you do is you just copy and paste that into the text function, right? You can put it into text, or you can put it in a doc, save it as a PDF, and then you'll be able to pop it in here. I saved it as a PDF because I'm gonna use it somewhere else too. But it's that easy, right? I'm gonna skip all of this. Delete. But essentially, what you then do is you create another one of those boxes, right? Those output boxes, and you connect everything together. And then you ask the bot to create you a system prompt, right? Yeah, you ask it to create a system prompt for what you want the bot to be able to do for you. After you create that system prompt, all you have to do is connect everything together into another output field. Because all you have to understand is that these are the inputs, right? This is the output. So essentially, Poppy allows you to visually build the inputs, right? The data structure that the AI uses in order to create the best piece of content, right? And now I just go in here. I walked one of my mentees through this earlier. I'm not gonna do it again. But I have two boxes, right? One for ideation, one for scripting. So I just go in here and I tell it, hey, make me 20 different ideas for the versus format, which is this format right here. And it just spits off a whole bunch of ideas, blah, 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 blah. And then I just pick one of them and I'll say, hey, turn this idea into a full script. Boom, cold traffic versus retargeting ROI, blah, 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 blah. And it just gives me everything. I don't have to fucking think. I made this shit in like 5 minutes. Now, some important notes here. When you're creating your system prompt, make sure you have a section that tells it to keep it within an 8th grade reading level, or your shit's just gonna be fucking cooked. I forget where. Yeah, I had a critical role. All advice given in the value section must be actionable within 28 to 48 hours. And there's a section in here for keeping it under or keeping it at an 8th grade reading level, because people on short form content are essentially fucking stupid, right? But yeah, I can script like 14 pieces of content in like 2 hours, which is something that would take me a whole day before, right? And then all I have to do is just proofread and simplify, and then it makes it super easy. But the thing is, you can do that for YouTube videos as well. You can do that for Instagram, TikTok. I fucking hate that ad. LinkedIn. You can do it for Facebook ads. You can do it for so more. It just makes your life so much more easy. But you need to understand all of this so you can know what all the mechanics at play are, so that you know what to input here. And then all you have to do, if you get to a point, oopsie daisy, I opened up WAP. Where's project management? All you have to do is, once you get to the point where you're delegating your editing, right? You just get you a nice little fucking project management platform. And all you do is you just load up all the fucking scripts, right? Move them over. Boom. Right? Assign it to yourself to record, because I got to record these, right? With the scripts inside. And then moving over after the raw is in there, and then your editor picks up. Once I fucking record everything, I don't have to think about shit. It makes your life so much fucking easier. Now, you don't have to use a project management platform like this. This isn't even mine. Like I'm telling you, I swipe everybody's shit. I got this from my friend Josh. Well, I didn't get it for free, right? I paid him fucking $6K for his mentorship. But yeah. Now, that is essentially everything for the content funnel, right? I'm going to take another break before we get into the conversion funnel, because I need some fucking bubbly. We've gotten through the content funnel, and we're going to get into conversion funnel, right? But before we get into all of this, we need to get into this, right? These are some basic mechanics that you need to understand, because these mechanics come at play at different points in your offer, right? So you need a lead magnet, right? So a lead magnet is what's going to get people to interact with you, right? You can see over here, when we go to this, shut up, right? I had a really strong lead magnet. Look at the quality of leads that are interacting with me, right? 216 followers, 1,000. There's a lot of quality people in here. 11,000 followers, 10,000 followers. All these people are opting in to one lead magnet. So like I said, this is just something that you use in order to get people to interact with your page. The easiest way to set up a lead magnet for Instagram, at least, is through ManyChat. Let's see if this shows one of my creators' profiles, I'll hide it. Okay, cool. That's fine. I'll just blur it in post. But you can see, right, just one of his lead magnets that we set up 3 days ago has 2,500 triggers, right? 50% opt-in rate. That's about 13,000 would be crazy. 1,300 new leads that have entered the ecosystem through one lead magnet, right? I can show you how these are constructed in here, right? And if you're wondering, because I know oh my God, cancel. I know some of you guys are gonna see that. You're gonna wonder, well, how come you have 2,500 trigger sent, but you've only collected 108 emails? It's because we turned off email collection to reduce friction into our actual funnel, right? So lead magnet, a person opts into through a comment, they get the lead magnet, blah blah blah. We set this up, so I don't know why people opt in and then say no. It's fucking retarded, right? Then we send them this, which sends them to a free community, right? Then we have a 5-minute delay, and then it automatically sends this, right? After it automatically sends this, right, our setters can go over here in the back end. Where is ClickFunnels? I mean, not ClickFunnels, JHL, right? You can go over here in the back end. Open up the conversations tab. We have, I think we have, no. We have 3 setters on this account right now, right? And then it can start conversations with these leads. All of that from just having good lead magnets. And look at the time. Look how many leads are coming in through that. It's fucking amazing, right? So you need to understand what lead magnets are, and you need to understand how to place them in your ecosystem. Then you have your main offer. You can ignore this, all right? This is just an example for a hybrid coaching program. You can have your main offer or your main program, one-on-one coaching. You can have a downsell, which is a course. And I'll explain to you how these tie in together once we get into the thick section. But I have to put these mechanics out there. We can have continuity offer, right? Which is basically a continuity offer is how to keep people giving you fucking money. This is how my continuity offer is. For my biggest offer, right, I take a split, a rev share of the creator because I just do everything for them, right? So the continuity offer is already built in, is that if you want my continued management of your offer, right, me and my business partners continued management of your offer, right, you're gonna have to pay us a percentage. Now, some people, not everybody can afford that because it's a 5-figure investment upfront and the split percentage, right? So not everybody can afford that. For my lower offer, it's just a 4K investment, and this is where me and my business partners pretty much give out all our SOPs, right? And then we help guide some of our quote unquote mentees into basically scaling their offer on their own. Now, the continuity offer on that is that once they get to a certain point, right, and they are at maximum capacity because we teach them everything, right, they're eventually going to trust us so much that they're going to move up into our primary offer. So now we can collect that 5-figure investment and get a rev share. And then we can collect money or collect cash from that customer long term, right? That's what I mean by a continuity offer. You need to figure out a way to get people to give you the first dollar and keep them paying you forever for the rest of the time. Then continuity offer 2 is just if we had what's it called? You don't need to worry about that for now, right? So once you understand that, we're gonna get into here. But once again, I'm sorry, I'm gonna tease you again. Before we get into all this fancy stuff, we need to get into the boring stuff, which is market research. Market research is so important. It will make your job so easy. So you need to create a creative brief, which breaks down your offer and your ICP, their problems, right? Everything they're going through in disgusting, nerdy detail. Look how thick this is. Look at that. If your market research document does not look that thick, then unfortunately, you just don't have enough data. I could keep going, but I'm not going to. You don't have enough data in order. How do I go back to Canva? In order to successfully do everything else, because your market research is going to help you know how to write the copy, know what angles to attack, what pain points that needs to be fleshed out within the customer. It just helps you out with so much, right? But once you're ready for a quote unquote launch, right? this is what you essentially do. It's super easy. And I saved this for it's not dead last, but it's like I saved this for the middle because everybody focuses on this section. And this is what they get wrong. They just focus on this section, not understanding everything else that's going at play. And this is the pitfall of a lot of people. That's why you see a lot of launches get a lot of profit up front on the first launch, but then you see their profit just drop off because they don't understand the content side of things. They just don't, right? Or they understand the content side of things and they just don't understand how to turn that attention into money. And then then you end up as a creator with 200,000 followers and only making a measly 5 to 10 grand. That's horrible. That's actually like purgatory. Because you think you're hot shit because you have a whole bunch of followers. But then you look at your bank account and you're fucking poor. It's only when you understand these two funnels put together that you make a fuck ton of money. And that's why and like I said before, that's just the process of dialing these two in is called info engineering. And that's what me and my business partner take care of. But getting into this is a very basic launch sequence, right? So 14-day teaser. We mentioned the upcoming launch and look out for to look out for, and we build the wait list, right? So we can tease the upcoming launch through story sequences on Instagram, email lists, Telegram groups, YouTube. You can kind of see the build up through YouTube, right? Then once they enter the wait list, we host a wait list on a second Telegram. And remember, and this is why I lose enthusiasm here, because there's so much fucking nuance here. There's so much, because even where you host your wait list is nuanced to your market research, your demographic. Let me explain, right? Let's just take the mechanic of age group, right? If you are dealing with a younger audience, right? Do you think that it would make sense for a waitlist to be hosted or any type of community to be hosted on Facebook? No, it wouldn't, because that younger demographic is going to perceive Facebook as as suited for older people. They don't want to feel like unk, right? But let's say you're dealing with more mature people. They're like 45 and up, right? Do you think these people want to be put in a Discord? Do you think they want their community to be hosted on something like Discord? No, because they're going to perceive it as something for a younger demographic, right? And they're more accustomed to Facebook. So that's just this is the hard part about this section right here, because people will just give out these cookie cutter answers, right? But there's so much fucking nuance. That's why my enthusiasm drops over here, because like I say, oh yeah, you put them in a Telegram group, but you could have an audience that wouldn't positively respond to Telegram, right? Yeah. It's whatever. But after they are funneled into whatever group you have, right? After 14 days of teasing the opportunity, we have a 7-day cart open. So 3 to 4 announcements across 7 days on IG and Telegram community, daily emails to past buyers and waitlist opt-ins, right? DM setter, dialer, reaching out to leads that are in the waitlist as well to expedite this process. Then they get into the VSL page. So this is just a VSL book a call page, right? Application form. Here's another nuance. How much friction we introduce into the funnel, right? Let's say you don't have a lot of high lead flow. You haven't increased TAM, right? You don't understand the content side of things yet. Having an application form is going to increase the quality of the people that are booking in, but it's going to decrease the amount of calls that are being booked, right? So you need to understand when it's time to place that friction mechanic. Because if you don't have a lot of lead flow, you don't want to have a lot of friction because you can't afford it, right? But if you have a lot of lead flow, right, you don't want to have a frictionless funnel because you're just going to be stuck on sales calls with unqualified buyers all the fucking time. This is the fucking nuance that is so hard to put on here. Holy, yeah, you're going to see me do that a lot where I pause and I just get into like the nerdy detail, right? So application form, right? If they are unqualified for the high ticket offer, they get downsold, right, to a discounted product. Don't pay attention to the price point. Just pay attention to the mechanics, right? If they buy this product, right, we can have 2 order bumps. So order bump 1, order bump 2, right? And if they buy all of that, after they if they buy all of that, then they can get triaged back onto the sales call because they have qualified themselves through buying these lower ticket products. If they are just immediately qualified for the high ticket offer, they just go straight to the high ticket offer call. Blah, 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 blah. Then they're closed. People that buy the mid-ticket offer can be booked onto the onboarding card, where we can sell them onto the features. I think I misspoke earlier and I called this the low ticket offer. No, this is the mid ticket offer. But you can also include low ticket. This is where it gets like, oh my gosh, there's so much nuance here. Now, if they visit this page and they initiate checkout, but they abandon cart, we can have 7-day abandoned cart emails and having the setter reach out to them. Blah 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 blah. Right? Holy shit. Getting into how this visually looks. This is what a typical opt-in page looks like, right? Join allies, blah, 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 blah. Benefit-oriented headline without objections. You want to have a color contrast. So you can kind of see how this plays out. I'm going to skip the majority of this and get into the results, right? So 3K page views, right? 2,300 of them were were unique. 1,100 opt-ins, right? I need my bubbly water. I'm spazzing right now, which resulted in 46% opt-in rate. When we go into the VSL itself, this is what an opt-in form looks like. This is Calendly. These are the metrics for that. This is just super boring stuff. So we're gonna fly through here, right? These are the type of questions that we ask through the Calendly, right? What's your primary objective for the next 3 months? When it comes to trading journey, what's your situation feels most familiar, right? What's the ideal trading schedule look like? In order to succeed in trading, you need money to trade with. This is the most important one, if we're being honest. It's just financially qualifying them. But it's about doing it properly, because you can see this is the flow for this type form. It was very straightforward, but the distinction doesn't happen until down here, right? When we qualify or disqualify them for bookings. And you can kind of see 130 views, 37 starts, 24 submissions. Holy shit. Confirmation pages. For the disqualified leads, remember, for the disqualified leads, we are sending them to a lower ticket offer. So this is an example of that over here, right? The mid-ticket offer. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm only showing this so you can kind of see what this visually looks like. Now, that's essentially it. But remember, for this section, this is my least favorite section. That's why you see my fucking enthusiasm drop. Because there's just... I know I'm leaving out so much shit in here because of fucking nuance. But I digress. Whatever. Getting into this section right here, right? A lot of people, and I know this for a fact because I talk to a lot of potential coaches, and their biggest objection is that they don't feel like they are ready to start coaching yet, right? And I'm going to break that limiting belief for you right now after I sip some more bubbly and make sure that my camera is still recording. Okay, like I was saying, the biggest objection that people have towards starting online or starting high ticket coaching, right, is that they feel like they're not ready to start high ticket coaching. So I'm just going to dedicate an individual segment on overcoming that objection for you, because that is a limiting belief that needs to get rid of. You need to get rid of. It's literally going to stop you from making the money that you should be making. Number one, we're going to start with an understanding of what essentially you're doing as an online coach, right? You need to understand the difference between coaching, mentoring, consulting, and counseling, because it seems like they're the same things, but they have different mechanics at play. So coaching is asking questions to get to a solution. Mentoring is telling them or giving them answers. And this is the relationship between you and your mentee, is giving them answers that's going to get them to a solution. Counseling is asking questions to reveal problems that you're going to help them overcome. Counseling or consulting is telling them what's I'm spazzing. I need my bubbly. Holy shit. Consulting is telling them what's causing them problems and how they can overcome them, right? So we need to split them into their individual parts, because essentially, as a high-ticket coach, you have to be able to flip from between all four of these, right? So you need to know when it's time to ask them questions, right? Whether it's to uncover a problem or get them to a solution. You need to know when it's time to tell them just straight up what's causing them their biggest problem and what's going to get them to their solution. So once you understand that, we can move here to the behavioral change hierarchy. This is the difference between a high-ticket coach and everyone else, right? So the reason why people believe that a high ticket, they can't sell high ticket, is because they don't think they will be able to provide enough value, right? But that's the completely wrong way to look at it. People don't buy high ticket mentorships because of value, right? Because we live in a world where all the answers to their problems can be found within ChatGPT. Do you understand that? Get that out of your head. You cannot give a piece of information to somebody that they can't find out through ChatGPT. It's literally impossible. So, why do people buy high-ticket mentors? It's because a good high-ticket mentor gets their mentees to change their behavior, because they can do all the fucking research they want through ChatGPT, figure out everything about everything, right? And still not do shit with that information because they don't know how to change their own behavior. That's why I have no fear towards putting out all this free information, because I know that even if I tell you everything, 90% of the population won't fucking do shit with that information. They're just gonna scroll and go watch the next piece of information, and they're gonna fucking mentally jerk themselves off so they can feel like they're doing something. But in actuality, the biggest problem isn't their lack of information, it's their lack of proper behavior. They don't know how to take action. They don't know how to manage their risks. They don't know how to manage their emotions, right? These are the things that you can leverage in order to sell your high-ticket mentorship, right? And I'll give you an example for me. When I was getting into the space, I bought a mentorship. It was $6,000. And essentially, all the information that I got from that, except for like some small nuances, 90% of the information that I got from that mentorship itself, right, I could have gotten it for free. But while I was still relying on the free information, I never fucking did anything. I never did anything with that information. And it wasn't until I paid that $6,000 out of my pocket to my mentor, right? And he started getting on my ass about why I'm not implementing the shit that I already know I should be doing, that my life actually started to change. And that's the job. And I like to press on this because there's this limiting belief that you're not going to make money because you can't provide enough value or you're too early on in your. That's not the fucking point. People pay you to help them change their behavior. Now, how do you change people's behavior? Right? This is the super deep nuance. I think I made a video on this. It's going to be coming out. It's either already out or it will be coming out here in the future, right? But this is the behavioral change hierarchy. This is the mistake that most people do, is that they focus on changing their actions and their habits. I'll tell you why that's disastrous. And it comes from this book. You've probably heard of it, Atomic Habits by James Clear. And it goes into what it actually took for cigarette addicts to completely stop smoking. Okay? So at first, he talks about how cigarette addicts was trying to stop smoking by focusing on the actions, right? They would try to stay away from cigarettes or things of that nature, right? But they would always relapse. They would always fall back to the cigarette, whether it came from like the specific triggers, right? A cigarette addict wasn't able to stop smoking until they changed their identity, right? In order for a cigarette addict to stop being a cigarette addict, he had to stop viewing himself as a cigarette addict. So his language, and it goes so granular or subatomic. It's like their language changed. It went from I'm not gonna smoke that cigarette because I'm trying to quit. Listen to that line, right? He's still associating, he's still identifying as a cigarette addict trying to stop. So switch from that to I'm not gonna smoke that cigarette because I'm not a cigarette smoker. Right? Their language changed, which is the power of identity. So if you're an online coach and you want to focus and you understand that your biggest goal is to help your mentees change their behavior, do not focus on the habits. Focus on the identity, right? You can teach people the actions, the habits through free information and courses. They need a mentorship in order to fix the rest of this. And I'll show you how they trickle on. So your identity trickles onto your beliefs. Here's an example. How you see yourself. I am an entrepreneur. I am healthy. I'm somebody who follows through. Immediately shapes what you believe is possible or acceptable. If you identify as not a morning person, you will believe you can't wake up early, so you don't even try. So beliefs go into your thoughts or your inner monologue. Beliefs generate self-talk. I can't do this. I can't wake up early in the morning because I'm not a morning person. Your thoughts shape your emotions. This inner monologue then spawns emotions, frustration, doubt that further entrenches that original belief, right? So now when it's time for you to wake up early in the morning, you're gonna have negative emotions towards it. You're gonna feel bad. You're gonna feel groggy, right? Your emotions then trickle onto your actions. Subconsciously, you act in ways that confirm your beliefs and emotions. If you feel unworthy, you procrastinate or underprepare. If you feel capable, you show up. This is all subconscious. That's what people don't get. It is fucking subconscious. Going back to the example of being a morning person, right? So if you believe you're not a morning person and you have those negative emotions, right? When it's time for you to wake up early in the morning, you're going to be slow to wake up early in the morning. You're going to hit your alarm clock a lot because you believe that you're not a morning person. Well, all you literally have to do is just decide, I'm the type of person that wakes up whenever the fuck I need to. And boom, when it's time to wake you up, there's none of that emotional discourse. You can just wake up immediately. It all comes to who you identify as. And lastly, repeating your actions, your identity-driven actions over time, or inactions over time, cements habits, good or bad, over weeks and months, right? So you need to learn how to dig into somebody's identity and help them become a different person. Now, coaching program structure. This is a very basic coaching program structure. It's just 8 weeks, right? Week 1, outcome clarity and problem agitation. Remember what I said before. You have to learn how to make people feel pain, because if you don't, they will not fucking change. The goal here is for them to visualize what success would look like to them, uncover what the main things that have stopped them from achieving it, and agitating the problem. You're purposely trying to induce deep levels of pain because pain is a catalyst for change. You do this with active listening and asking open-ended questions that force them to dig deeper into surface issues. We are looking for the root issue here, which is most likely going to be rooted in limiting beliefs. I will give you an example of this. One of my mentees, right, he's a growth operator that was struggling. And through our first call, I forced him to tell him what he does during the day onto why he can't pump out content. And we figure it out. It's because he spends a lot of time playing basketball, because he is he basically plays for a college. He's a D1 athlete essentially. Through our conversation, I convinced that man to quit playing basketball, because he in his head he decided that that's not the path that he wanted to take. He wanted to be a growth operator, right? And I'll put it. I don't want to open my WhatsApp, right? I'll put a screenshot of him sending me the message that he quit playing basketball in order to go on it. So I helped him change his identity, because even though he wanted to become a full-time growth operator, he was still latching on to the previous identity that he had of being a collegiate athlete, even though he recognizes that that was not the path he wanted to follow long term, right? He wasn't able to do that until I had that very hard conversation with him and made him fucking quit that shit so he can double down on what he believes is going to help him out in the future. That's just an example of that. Then, weeks 2 through 7, identity shift and belief shift. This is where the bulk of the program will be done. And then week number 8, reviewing long-term action steps and celebrating their wins. Celebrating their wins is the most important part of this step. You got to make them feel good about the new change that you incurred. Notice how I say nothing here about giving out information here and information that. That's not your fucking job. That's not. Yes, you want to provide value if they have specific problems, but the bulk of the action is done on helping them become the type of person that can figure shit out themselves. Coaching program structure for when you're actually on call. So, emptying the cup, right? So this is the first part of the call that you have with somebody. Just let them, the student, vent and talk about what they're what at the top of their mind in relation to the program, right? Follow up on action items. So self-explanatory. So these are the first 10 to 15 minutes. Objectives, right? Either outline the objectives for the session or have them outline what they wish to accomplish during the session. And this depends on your coaching style, right? What I mean by your coaching style is that there are coaches, remember, back over here, there are coaches that predominantly ask, and then there are coaches that predominantly tell. That's what I mean by your coaching style, which is, again, why I started off over here. Where were we at? Success metrics, right? You and the prospect collaborate on what would be defined as a good outcome for the session. Why? You want to consistently keep the prospect's why at the top of their mind. They have to be the one that states why hitting the success metric is important, not you telling them. This is very important because this comes to mind. I'll give you an example, right? So there's this book called A Man's Quest for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. So Viktor E. Frankl is, first of all, let me make sure this shit's still recording. Yep. Okay. Viktor E. Frankl was a scientist back in the day whose family was basically put in Nazi concentration camps. There's no way I can butter that up, right? He witnessed some of the most atrocious things mankind can ever fucking witness. In the book, and I recommend everybody that's watching this video, go read this fucking book, right? So he talks about there was a point in time when they got to the first concentration camp, and I forget why, but his wife and his kids ended up being burned alive, right? And he describes the putrid aroma of the burning skin of his fucking wife and children. Shit was fucking horrible. And he goes throughout the book, and it's basically a documentation on what it took for him to be able to survive that such atrocities. And the one thing he said that allowed him to survive that, and the one common trait that he saw other concentration camp survivors have, is they had a strong enough reason why they needed to survive. He even goes into details. It's like you can typically tell when somebody lost their reason why they needed to survive, because it's a sharp drop off. They stop asking for food rations, and instead they start asking for cigarettes, right? They completely just give up on life. So the why is so important to keep at top of mind, because it will get you through everything in your fucking life. So you want to keep your prospects, your mentees' why at top of mind all the fucking time, because that's the catalyst, that's the driving engine on what is going to allow you to change their identity, right? Now, after you dig into the why, where are they at currently compared to that goal, to reality? What different avenues do they have for achieving that goal? Options, new action steps assigned, right? So these are our action items. So you telling them, hey, this is what you need to do to solve XYZ problem, right? Recap, review of the session, and then ask for feedback. Super fucking easy. This is a 1 hour call, right? Now, the question hierarchy here goes back to how we dig into the why. This section right here. It goes back into why, reality, and options, right? Because remember, this is the bulk. So 45 minutes, and you dig into those. This is where the magic happens. But if you only if you ask powerful questions, powerful open-ended questions that lead to discovery, right? Question hierarchies, right? So as these go down, power decreases, right? As these go down, open-endedness decreases as well. So how questions? What questions are the most powerful? So let's say somebody, I'm struggling to do XYZ because of XYZ. Okay, how can you talk to me about how that is affecting you? Right? So you just ask open-ended questions and get people to open up so you can get to the core root issue. This is a lot harder than I thought. Because these are just, I outlined this to make it easier for me to explain myself. But there, again, this same reason why this section is so hard for me, because there's so much fucking nuance. It's hard to disseminate the geniusness of my brain to a fucking stupid YouTube video. I'm gonna be honest, I'm trying so hard, but I have to keep taking these pauses because there's so much fucking nuance here. I'm really sorry. I need to get better at this. But yeah, you need to get better at asking open-ended questions. And that's essentially it. That is everything that it takes for you to become a powerful info engineer, right? Understanding the content side of things and the conversion side of things, right? Whether you want to do it for yourself or for other people. If you found this video interesting, go ahead and like this video. Please leave a comment and then subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to be putting out a lot more fucking content for YouTube.